was wondering if you've ever sat down with a friend, maybe a spouse, maybe a relative, you really wanted to tell them something. Like really just had something heavy on your heart that you wanted to talk about. Something really serious, something that you've been wanting to talk about for a long time. The time was finally right to share it. And it didn't happen. You started bringing it up and they would maybe tell a joke, or maybe you start telling it, they start telling their own thing. And you just felt empty. Or maybe it was on the other side of the table, that you're sitting with a friend and the conversation's going along like usual, it's a nice conversation, and then they drop the bomb. Maybe some sin that's in their life, or maybe some issue, or maybe something they're going to run from. And they pause, waiting for you to say something, and you think, what am I going to say to that? I'm assuming I'm not the only one that's been in those places of longing to be heard or longing to know what to say. The sermon today isn't going to answer that. But what I hope that we come out with is how to build deeper relationships. To have something to work from in which our relationships are deeper, that brings about deeper communication. To do that, we're going to talk about Joseph again, and we need a little background to get us how we're going to run at this building deeper relationships. Remember, Joseph had the cool colored coat. His brothers didn't like it. First they were going to kill him, and then they said, no, we'll sell him, we'll make money on the deal. They sold him into slavery, and he ended up in Potiphar's house. Things went well, he moved up in the ranks. Then he was wrongfully accused, went to jail, was overlooked, things got better. He ended up as number 2 to Pharaoh. Remember the story? And so, I don't want to give the wrong impression. This story is not a lesson about how to build relationships or communicate better. Let's be honest about what the scripture text is telling us. This is God's provision. This is how God provided for Joseph. This is how God provided for the nation of Israel that was to come. But a part of that story, within God's provision, is a story of reconciliation. Jacob's brothers, through this story, are reconciled to God. Jacob and his brothers are reconciled. So I want us to capture that piece of the story, this idea of reconciliation, with today's reading. Genesis chapter 45, verses 1 through 10. It's on page 35 of the Pew Bibles. Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants, and he cried out, have everyone leave my presence. So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers, and he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph, is my father still living? But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, come closer to me. When they had done so, he said, I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now, do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now there has been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years there will not be plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So then it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household, and ruler of all Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, this is what your son Joseph says, God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me. Don't delay. You shall live in the region of Goshen and be near me, you, your children and grandchildren, your flocks and herds, and all you have. I want to think about some aspects of this story that help us maybe see how to dig deeper, how to build relationships that go beyond the superficial. So the first piece I want to think about is going deeper. And Sam's going to help me with this. This will be a theatrical reenactment of a hypothetical situation. All right.
This was the worst day of my life.
All right. The worst day of Sam's life has happened. You don't look very sad. You're smiling. This is the worst day of your life. Okay, thank you. All right. This is the worst day of his life. Now, I have various ways that I can respond. All right. And these pictures will give you the cues. All right. So first thing is I can run. I can run away from this situation. I can say, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Sam. Why don't you take out the garbage and weed the garden, and hopefully by then you'll have forgotten about your day. All right, so I can run from it. I can distract and run from it. The next thing I can do is I can play defense. Okay? I can think, he thinks his day was worse than mine. He's not even going to ask me what day I had. You think you have it rough? Try being a grown-up. All right? Let me tell you about my day. So, we build a wall and we play defense. Now, the last one that we can do is we can play Bob the Builder. We can fix it. Oh, Sam. Oh, is it because I sent the salami and sardine sandwiches with you to IT camp again? Did the kids make fun of you because I'll never send those again? In which we want to fix the problem right away. In which I'm sure no one would make fun of him for those sandwiches. Right? I assume that I know the answer to his problem. I assume that that's as deep as it went. But maybe the problem was a whole lot deeper. Maybe it was a whole lot different than what I'm trying to fix without really listening. All right, thanks, Sam. Deeper is looking for what's truly going on. Joseph was not just out to fix his brothers. He wasn't just out to say, I was worth more than 30 pieces of silver. You should have gotten more for me when you sold me. He wasn't out to say, oh, you guys are such losers because you did that, but I'm a good guy, so I can forgive you. He's obviously concerned about their walk with God. That there's something deeper going on. An interesting thing, we first hear about Joseph's brothers in chapter 29 of Genesis. Some of them are born. There's a whole bunch of them, so it takes a while for them all to get born. But starting there, until they're broken in chapter 42, there's no reference to God and them. There's no linking at all. Their lives, nothing. That's a lot of chapters. And I've noticed the Bible is usually about God, and so to not have God in there is kind of a big deal. And so to go all those chapters, no God, I think Joseph saw something deeper going on here than just his personality issue or his strife with his brothers. There was a deeper issue that needed to be dealt with. So deeper is the first thing I want us to think about. And I'll be honest with deeper, it's easy for us to skip that one. I think that we'd like to fix problems quickly or avoid them. It takes time to go deeper. Next one is wider. I want you to envision me driving this car. I would love to be in a car in which I was that big in the car. It's just so awesome. So you meet me, and I have, Ellie helped me with these, I have glasses to help me stay focused. So all I'm looking at is nothing at this point. So I have to drive like this too, my elbows. All I'm doing is I'm looking straight ahead. I don't want to be distracted by anything. I just want to look at the road straight ahead of me. And so, Georgia, would you like to meet me on the road if I'm wearing my blinders? No, you don't like to meet me on the road, period. But the blinders, it's even worse. Because I just want to see what's ahead of me. I'm not taking in the wider view. I'm not taking in what's going on. Is somebody pulling out next to me? Is somebody trying to pass me? That's ridiculous. Sometimes we do the same in life, in which we're so focused on one thing that we don't look wider to see what God is doing. In this story, verses 5 through 9 of chapter 45 we just read, God is mentioned 4 times by Joseph. Now, Joseph refers to God all the time in his talking throughout these chapters, but here it's like he's telling his brothers, well, God did this, God God did this, God did this. Trying to get them to see the wider picture. That there's something more at work than just what was happening to Joseph. He didn't tell them the sob story of, let me tell you about Potiphar's house, that was your fault. He's going wider. He's going wider to look how God's been at work. The only way that forgiveness and reassurance of Joseph not putting them in prison would come about is by him being able to open the door so they could see the wider picture. Now, I have these graphics to help you with seeing wider. Has anyone ever inhaled before? I'm just talking air. This is okay. You can say yes. Just right? We're good at that. We're not very good at that when we're talking with someone. When someone is like talking about a problem, it's like, oh, I gotta tell them how to fix it. What am I gonna do? What do I say? Maybe the best thing to say is to breathe and take that time to pray. God, this is beyond me. I need your leadership. God, fill me with your spirit so I can know what direction to go. Bring a verse to mind. Do something. Don't just try to be the expert. Breathe and pray. And the next one is to have eyes wide open, in which it's so easy to keep narrowing our view of, I want to restore the circumstance that this person is struggling with. Maybe it's a struggle with finances, maybe it's a struggle with job, struggle with a marriage, maybe a relationship. And we want to restore that circumstance more than we want to restore their soul with God. We always need to be looking wider. All right, now I'm going to interrupt these points for a side note. This is my life last night, all right? For my birthday, we went to the Creamery. I talked about it in Sabbath school, and I thought it was going to pop. I ate too much. It was, yeah. Yes. This applies to what I'm talking about with this kind of soul talk, this deep talk. I don't want to give the impression that every time that we talk to somebody, that we should be trying to go deep and go wide. Like if somebody says, hey, can I have a glass of water? To get in their face and say, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Let me help you. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not saying, I think I hit him. See, it can be dangerous. Don't do it. Every conversation is not meant to be this deep soul talk conversation. I'm not trying to give the impression that every time you talk to me that we're supposed to like get a few inches from each other's face and say, okay, let's bare your soul to me. That's not what I'm talking about. But we should be ready for those opportunities. There are times in life in which we need to go deeper and wider and closer. Now, I'm going to try an illustration with this. We'll see how it goes. All right, so closer. Seth, I'd like you to ring the bell, please, just once. That was sort of once. All right? Now, thank you, Seth. Now, Rebecca, could you cue this up for us? Maybe. Hopefully. Not really. Imagine audio with that. Now catch this last part. Don't leave it yet. Wait for it. Wait. Hi, Seth. All right. Seth was closer. So next time we do that clip, we'll have sound. So down here, we heard the bell, and it was nice. Now, if you climb up their ladder that they used lumber for in 1889, and get up to the top, you are close. You experience it. You see it. You feel it. You take it all in. There's a big difference between being down here and experiencing the bell and going up there. There's risk involved with going up there. Now, you can talk to Kevin later and he'll say it's not as risky as I make it out to be. I don't like heights. So it's risky to me. It's risky to me. So there's risk involved of getting up there, getting close, and it's the same with relationships. There's risk involved when we get close. Joseph told people, used the word close 3 times. The first time is in verse 4, and he told his brothers to come close. Now this picture shows flowers that from a distance maybe look okay, but we're close enough, you can see that they've gone by, the petals are falling off, there's blemishes, things aren't right. Same thing happens with relationships when we invite people to come closer. When we want to come close enough to really speak into someone's life, they're going to see us for who we are. When his brothers got close, they probably smelled an Egyptian. They're like, man, kind of sold out a little bit, huh, Joe? You know, I mean, that would have been going through my mind because he'd arrived and I hadn't, so I want to tear him down somehow. Oh, Joseph, selling out to the Egyptians, buddy. They came closer so they could see what wasn't perfect. Same is true for us. There's risk involved. If we really want to speak into people's lives, we have to invite them to be closer. And the invitation quite often is intentional. In verse 9, Joseph said to have his father invited, to have his father come down to him. A very intentional plan. For us to come closer, quite often we need to make intentional plans to come closer to others. Of not just leaving it up to happenstance or if things work out. Find something that we like to do and invite someone to join us. Of maybe if we have a conversation that we really want to have with someone, to call them and line up that conversation. To have it in a setting where it'll be appropriate to have it. That coming closer requires intentionality.
Yes.
And then there's one more. In verse 11, a little beyond what we read, Joseph said that the famine, there's 5 more years of famine yet to come. And I was thinking about that, and that's kind of framed within this idea that Joseph is going to take care of his family. That he's concerned about more than just himself. He's not just self-centered. But I think if we're honest with ourselves, maybe we don't struggle with self-centeredness that people can see as much as disguised self-centeredness. Joseph could have invited his family to all come around and be fed and be thinking, I've got to take care of these losers because they can't take care of themselves. I've got to take care of these guys because I'm smart, they aren't. It could be a disguised self-centeredness, and how often can we fall into that trap? Of when someone is sharing with us their struggle, and we end up feeling kind of smug, or thinking, I don't have that problem. I guess I can fix it for them because I've got it together. And we lose the fact that we are broken, that we have all these blemishes on us, and that we are sinful as well, and that we desperately need the forgiveness of Jesus Christ. When we lose the fact that we need to be close and honest, we can disguise our self-centeredness. Deeper, wider, closer, slower. Some of you remember about a year ago, I had a debacle making Norwegian butter cookies. If you take 4 pounds of butter directly out of the refrigerator and try to use a small, what is that, blender? Mixer? One of those. If you try to use one of those in hard butter, it'll burn it up. Right? There's something to taking time and allowing butter to soften before you try to grind through it. Lesson learned. There's something to taking things slower. This is what Joseph did here. He said, come on down to Goshen. We're going to spend time together. Be near me. And so I think what this is telling us is you should get a really big house and have all your friends and family live with you and provide for them so they never have to work again. There's only like 2 people snickering. The rest of you think I'm serious? Or just that was so lame it wasn't worth it? You don't need to answer that. You don't need to answer that. No. All right. No sidetracks. All right. I think that what this is reminding us of is if we're going to be a a safe person, if we're going to be a safe person that people trust, it takes time. If someone's going to bare their soul, if that matter, we're going to bare our soul to someone, we really want to know them. It's not like after, talking to somebody for 30 minutes on the phone that we're ready to, tell them everything. It takes time. We need to slow down. 2 pieces of slowing down. One is margin. Now, I'll be honest, I just got this off of clip art and I had no idea what it referred to. But Luke explained to me that this is a possible design for a website.
Yes,
right?
CSS box model.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking. It's a CSS box model. So in the middle you have your content, then you have tagging, then you have a border, and then there's margin. All the information doesn't go to the edge of the screen. There's a margin around the outside, so everything isn't packed in. We don't live our lives that way. We pack our lives right to the edges. There's no margin left of where there's space or buffer zone. We just want to pack it all in. If we're going to slow down and be available for deeper relationships, we need to have margin. It's not like we can put it in our planner and say, oh, well, at 10:15, Susie's going to stop by and need to talk. And so I'll put that in my planner for that time. There needs to be margin where we can have time, where we can make time to slow down and spend time with people. Another is we need to know when to pause. This is one of my favorite things, all right? Notice the difference between these 2 sentences. Let's eat Grandpa, or let's eat Grandpa, right? Commas save lives. Aren't you glad you came today? You have to know when to pause. We're not always good at knowing when to pause. We can think, oh, well, I'm spending time with people, and it's easy to pick on texting because I can't text without any cell service. I can pick on who can text. But there's texting, there's phones, there's reading the newspaper, watching TV, being on the computer, whatever distracts us. We can be in the same room, but not pausing to be a part of someone's life. Knowing when to pause is so critical. Don't eat, Grandpa. Pause. Right? Remember that. All right, so they're slower. And the last one I want to think about is being a follower. Now, obviously, we are called to be a follower of Jesus Christ. And we see that Joseph followed God throughout his life. It's kind of interesting to think about what would have happened if Joseph wasn't pursuing God his whole life and then his brothers came. I think the story would have been different. It's not like Joseph's brothers showed up and he flipped a switch and said, oh, it's time to be holy. Let's do the God thing. He's following God through his whole life, and then when his brothers come, he's ready to just continue living out his faith. This quote sort of haunts me a little bit. I wake up every morning more aware of bad breath and lingering fatigue than supernatural power. Too much evidence. And how people respond to me and how I feel and how I handle people supports the notion that God's life is not in me. Or if it is, it's not yet ripe enough to enjoy. Am I enough of a passionate follower of Jesus Christ that second things stay second and first things are first? I should be passionate about my following of Jesus Christ more than I'm worried about chronic halitosis or other issues. Those are important. But first things first. Lewis has an interesting quote. He said, when we put first things first, we get second things thrown in. When we put second things first, we lose it all. For our relationships to be deeper, wider, closer, slower, we need to be following Jesus Christ. It's a prerequisite. It's sometimes easy to just want to be the expert, to have that right answer. When someone drops that bomb, be able to say, well, here's a scripture verse for you that'll fix your problem. Instead of stepping back and kind of catching our breath and saying, God, help me. of following diligently throughout our lives, that we're connected and close to God and ready for those times. Being a follower is critical. Now, this is exciting. Some of you make fun of me for talking with my hands. Now I'm going to help you talk with your hands. All right, now say you're in one of these conversations, and you're like, I heard a really good sermon about this. How do I remember it? Hand motions, all right? So deeper, wider, closer, slower, follower. See how this works? So say you're talking, and now you have to be careful, because you don't want to like give it all away. So you can be nonchalant about it. You're like, in a conversation, you're like, I really want to share something. How do I do this? I want to see deeper, wider. See? Look how, this is a, next slide. All right. If you are interested in deeper conversations, this is a really good book, Soul Talk by Larry Crabb. Some of the ideas this morning are taken from that book. And if this has triggered something, I'd recommend this book for learning more about deeper conversation. What I want us to come away with, more than hand motions, is for us to think about real communication. Each one of us has an opportunity to have real communication with the people around us. To go deeper, to go wider, to be closer, to be slower, to be a follower. Take it. Take the opportunities of the divine appointments that God gives us, and don't just stay on the superficial, but take it lower. This is something I need to work on. But don't just be looking for people to listen to. Also be searching out for those friends who will listen to you. We all need those deep relationships in which we can also be heard. I hope that as we leave today, that we have a passion for the kind of community that God has called us to. God designed us to be in community, not just like single Lone Ranger type things going through life, but to be in community with others, to be in real community. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your call in our lives. Thank you that you've given us the opportunity to communicate, that we can communicate poorly or well. Help us to follow the leading of your Spirit.
Yeah.
Inspire and encourage us, and please place people in our lives where deep relationships can be established and grow. And through all of it, may we glorify your name above all others. Amen.